Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I'm John, and as always, thank you so much for being here. Good topic, let's do it. What's the worst customer service you've ever experienced? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe.
I had cable and internet with Comcast in the Atlanta area, and I was paying top dollar for basically everything they offered. My cable and internet bill was over $150 a month. So imagine my surprise when I came home on Wednesday to find my service had simply gone dead. I made a couple calls, and every time I say I made a call from now on, assume a 30 to 45 minute ordeal. Eventually, Comcast dude on the phone goes, yeah, not good. We'll need to get a guy out. Fine, when is he available? 3 days. So with no other choice but to wait, I scheduled the appointment. Then I did some sleuthing. I went to the street side cable box and pulled the lid off. Shocker. My cable had literally been cut right at the feed, like sliced off. I called Comcast back. They denied any knowledge. My bill was paid in full and claimed someone had been messing with their equipment, but promised to get a maintenance order, which would result in a crew coming the next day. The crew never arrived. Whatever. I bought a new connector and redid the connection myself, but kept the Friday appointment so they could put a lock on the box, and also so they could do a pro job of redoing my connection since my hack job left me with some digital snow. Now, I don't know if you've ever had to get Comcast out to your place, but I've learned through past ridiculousness that you must be able to accept 3 robocalls in advance of their visit or they'll cancel on you automatically. You must press a button on each robocall to confirm that yes, you're still taking half the day off from work to wait at their convenience. No, the fact that the entire problem is at street level makes no difference. So last night, I got and accepted the first robocall. This morning at 8:15, the second call came in and dropped. It just disconnected mid-sentence. Uh-oh. I called Comcast. Remember, the 30 to 45 minute deal here? I spoke with a live human to confirm they were still coming and explain that the robot call had dropped on me. I was assured they were, and my appointment had been confirmed with dispatch. While in the middle of the call with the live human, the third robocall came in, and I switched over just in time to have it drop again. I just literally cut off mid-sentence, and my phone gave me that beep 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 dropped call noise. Crap. Now I'd missed 2 calls. Out of paranoia, I called back to speak to the living human again. This time, I was again assured I was still on schedule. During that 30 to 45 minute affair, the 4th robocall came in, this time telling me my appointment had been cancelled. Feeling quite a bit like I was trapped in an Abbott and Costello routine, I called the human back for the 3rd time. Again, I was eventually assured my appointment was scheduled and had been referred to dispatch. By this point, my 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. window was closing, so I retired to the front porch to wait for the guy. Oh, he came all right. Big-ass Infinity van right at 10:50 a.m. I drove right up to my house, and then right on by, waving at him to come back. Comcast literally cannot override their own robots to get a human being to use his common sense and make a 5-minute stop. He drove within 10 feet of the street box, which needed the new connection and lock. It's like the inmates have taken over the asylum, set up a communist-level bureaucracy, and then began passing judgment on anyone who can't meet their nonsensical protocols. Death by exile. I called Comcast back for the 4th time. This is the last and long and sordid history I've had with that god-awful company. So I simply told them I was canceling their service. They put me on hold for 22 minutes, icing the kicker, I think. Then, got back online to see if I wanted to negotiate a better deal. No, I wasn't kidding. I'm really done with you people. Well, in that case, the lady informed me that I would need to be sure to turn in all of my equipment to the nearest Comcast store location, or I would continue to be charged for service. Last time I was at a Comcast store, I arrived an hour early by accident, and when I walked out at 9:05 a.m., I counted 19 people waiting in line behind me, all to speak with the one pissed-off bureaucrat who had actually bothered to show up for work that morning. Fortunately, in my area, Comcast no longer has a monopoly, and I found the people at AT&T Uverse to be both entirely cordial and more than happy to take my money for their top dollar service plan, and I didn't even have to sit on hold. TLDR. Comcast is the devil. Have you ever seen worse? A couple of years ago, I ordered those personalized M&Ms with photos on them. Shortly after ordering, I received an email saying that there was a problem with my order. The photo I wanted to use had too many faces in it, so I needed to call X customer service number. So I called, and I waited. 1 hour and 52 minutes later, a woman told me I could just reply to that email with a picture with only 1 or 2 faces in it. Geez, they couldn't have said that in the email. So I replied with a new picture, no problem. 6 days later, I get an automated voicemail message saying there was a problem with my M&M order and to please call this number. So I called, and I waited 2.5 hours for them to tell me there was no problem at all and my order had been shipped. I had an employee at a big box department store grasp my balance assistant's dog's harness, pull her away from me, and demand to know what my disability was because I didn't look like I needed my dog. That was fun. It's definitely the worst experience so far. A couple of years ago, when you could still actually talk to a real person through Bank of America, I called with an odd question that couldn't be handled by the traditional number roulette menu. They had disabled the press 0 for operator, which used to be so wonderful. Anyways, so of course I had to go through each new menu with the woman speaking conveniently and comfortingly, slowly, so I didn't miss a single word. Next, a new menu. Get with someone, finally. I'm in the wrong place. I need to be transferred. Whatever, fine. Get a new person. I have to go through all my information before they'll hear my question. Transferring to the wrong place, info, wrong place, transferred once more. It had been around 20 minutes by this point. Then I hear, "Hi, I'm Susie with Wells Fargo. How may I assist you?" What the TLDR. Called Bank of America, shuffled between departments, and somehow ended up transferred to Wells Fargo. The worst customer service was from an optometrist who let me believe for years that I was going blind. In Canada, I'm considered legally blind. I'm not totally blind, but a good reference point is that if I can see clearly for a distance of 5 centimeters, then everything goes to shit. I've been wearing glasses since I was in the 2nd grade, and when I was in 7th grade, I got a new optometrist and a whole new exciting thing to correct my vision, contact lenses. Despite some hiccups, I mastered jamming the pliable lenses into my eyes quickly and finally had 20/20 vision. It was honestly one of the best moments of my life, and I wore them to school and would take them out when I got home. Everything was lovely until I began the 10th grade. He gravely informed me that because my vision was so poor, wearing contact lenses created a danger of oxygen deprivation that could very well cause me to go totally blind. When I asked how often I would wear contacts, he told me as little as possible, so I went back to glasses, despite the fact that they lessened my vision considerably, and went about my life. At every appointment, he would tell me that this condition was getting worse and worse and that my eyes were being deprived of oxygen more and more. I started wearing the lenses only for sports, then only for special occasions, and then I just stopped wearing them. A few years went by, and my family and I were just informed that I needed checkups on a regular basis to see if I was going more blind. And when I was about to start my 2nd year of university, I went to the doctor's office, which by now had become this miserable place in my mind since there was never good news. No regeneration, just knowing that by the time I'm 30, I'd be blind. When I went for my last appointment before leaving for school, there was a new doctor and new nurses in the building, and I asked for my doctor and was promptly informed that he and his nurses were gone. The new doctor sat me down and told me the whole story as gently as he could. I was never going blind. There was mild oxygen deprivation, but nothing that could even come close to causing blindness, and the contact lenses were doing nothing. The original doctor had lied, and then the police got involved. It turns out that one of his patients was the wife of a billionaire investor, and she came to him with an irritated eye, and he told her that it was a small infection and could be treated with antibacterial eye drops, and she began seeing him weekly for status updates, and she was using the drops regularly. When this had gone on for 9 months, Another doctor in the building noticed that she was in an awful lot and asked why she was always here. She explained that she had a simple eye infection and showed him the irritated eye. He called his brother, who's an optical surgeon, and demanded his brother interrupt a consultation to look at this woman's eye. They work in the same building. The brother examined the eye, called an ambulance, and made arrangements to perform surgery at the hospital 3 towns over. Why? The eye infection was actually cancer. It turns out the original doctor, my doctor, had a gambling addiction, and it had become out of control to the point where he was unable to cover the costs with the way his job was, so he began isolating patients and telling them that their maladies that were bad but could only be treated with multiple office visits. I burst into tears, both for this woman facing cancer and being told over and over again it was basically pink eye, and for myself. I'd been preparing myself for the eventuality of going blind, and it caused me sleepless nights and stress. Thankfully, the woman was treated and her eye was saved. Although some of her vision was compromised, she's now cancer-free. Legally, there were several insurance companies baying for this monster's blood, and while they got their money, justice was not served. The doctor's license was stripped for some amount of time, and it's been 3 years since that time, and he started a new practice. I have to admit, I do still struggle wearing my contact lenses. It seems silly, but when someone you trust tells you over and over for many years that something will make you go blind, it's difficult to reverse that learned fear and behavior. I've tried to tell myself that I was fortunate. I could have had cancer, and he would have lied. But there is still a great deal of bitterness and hurt that churns inside me. I still go to the same doctor who told me all this, and he told me the first day that he would do anything to repair my trust in the medical community. That meant a great deal to me, and true to his word, he's been an incredible medical professional. He's always treated me with great dignity and respect, walked me through exactly what is wrong with my eyes, nearsightedness and astigmatism in both eyes, why it happens, my parents both have poor vision, and has gone so far as to give me a basic education in the study of optometry. Glasses are still worn about 80% of the time, but that 20% will hopefully become 30% with time. My husband and I were interested in upgrading our phones to AT&T. He was for an upgrade 5 months before me. They won't let me upgrade when he upgrades, and they say I have to wait 5 months. Okay, fine, whatever. Well, he upgraded. He also opted to change his number because we had moved across the country, and he wanted one that would now be local. Because we were on a family plan, AT&T insisted that I also change my phone number. There was absolutely no way I could keep my old phone number. Okay, annoying, but whatever. So when the 5 months are up, I go in to upgrade my phone. I'm told, oh, you can't upgrade. You've only had an account with us for 5 months. No, I said, I've had an account with you for 6 years. Nope. Apparently, when they gave us new phone numbers, when I didn't even want mine changed really, it set us up as a brand new account, erasing our history with the company. What the? Well, it took to talking to multiple CSRs on the phone and some major bitching, but I finally got my new phone. It doesn't help that every time we talked to a new person, they told us something completely different and insisted that what the last CSR had told us was totally wrong.
Well, I could probably think of quite a few, but somebody mentioned AT&T, and that makes sense to me. I upgraded a phone about a year ago, and I was told that if I could get a new line, and then once the other phone is paid off, I could just cancel that line, and it's been over a year, and they told me that I can't do that, and if I wanted to, I'd have to cancel a number I've had for 20 years, even though all they'd have to do is switch the service from the number I don't use to the number I've been using for 20 years. So basically, I've been paying an extra $50 a month, or something like that, for somebody else's mistake. Thanks, AT&T.
Late to the party, but I'll give you the story of a racist gas station attendant and my father's revenge. On a long road trip, Mom badly needed to pee, so Dad pulled into a gas station and Mom ran inside asking what the restroom was. The attendant told her around back, so Mom hot-buttered it outside and to the back of the store, only to find the door padlocked. A little ticked off that he didn't say anything before, Mom went back inside and asked for the key. The attendant told her, "We can only give the restroom key to store customers." At this point, Mom ran out to the car and told Dad the situation. He was also pumping some gas, and when he was done, he paid with a credit card at the pump. "There, now you're a customer." Mom ran back inside and asked the attendant for the key. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but that man outside paid for the gas. You didn't. Maybe you could buy some tacos or burritos. Habla inglés?" My mom is part Native American, but the guy was mistaking her for a Mexican. Mom is not a confrontational person. She went back to the car and tearfully told Dad she could hold it. Dad asked why she still hadn't gone to the bathroom and raged when he heard what the attendant had said. Dad was 6'9", heavily tattooed and weighed 400 pounds. The attendant meekly handed over the restroom key. Meanwhile, Dad bought a big gulp. Actually, I don't think he ever paid for it, and downed it in 3 sips while glaring at the attendant. When Mom came out of the restroom, Dad told her to sit in the driver's seat and keep the car running. They pulled up to the front door of the gas station. Dad stepped outside, unzipped his pants, and peed all over the glass and floor mat. Dad loved telling that story. Mom, not so much. It sounds like you've got crack cutters. I had this happen to my cable a couple times when I lived in a bad area. Basically, effing crackheads steal accessible cable and use the inner wiring as mesh for their crack pipes. If you think this might be the cause, ask the technician to leave some extra cable around as a decoy. Ours would cut twice in a couple of days by our next door neighbor, effing junkie bitch. The second time the guy came to fix it, he left an extra spool for them to have. Also, the first time the guy came to fix it, he illegally parked in my next door neighbor's driveway and instead of backing out, drove forward into the hydrometer, knocking out my neighbor's power for about a day. When we called the company to let them know, they had no record of the guy even being in the area, although he did provide the service, and since my brother works for the same company, I told him about it. He had a laugh and later reported to me that the guy had disappeared. Awesome. Mine's more service in a restaurant related. To start off, I am a server. I can usually tolerate a lot of crappy service, usually with the benefit of doubt. There was a pizza joint I liked to frequent. One day a friend and I went in and ordered something called nutty bread. Basically, gooey Nutella is cooked into a folded over pizza dough. We waited and waited for it. I flagged down the waitress and she went looking for it. She comes striding back with it, drops it on the table without a word and disappears. We look down to basically this burnt piece of folded up dough with burnt Nutella inside. I try flagging her down. She avoids eye contact. Finally, I get her to come over. I tell her it's way overcooked and inedible. She picks up my fork and starts poking at it, telling me it looks okay to her. Here's how the conversation went. Me: "I've had this plenty of times before. Usually it's nice, soft, and gooey. This is just overcooked and inedible." Her: "Yeah, well, the only way I can see it is it can't be super awesome every time, because then your expectations will be too high the next time you order it." I burst out laughing. I thought she was joking. I even had her repeat herself, which she did, followed up with, "Did you want me to pack it up for you?" I did, and I'm actually pretty good friends with the owner of the place, so I swung by their house to show and tell them about my experience. The scream of "She said what?" still resonates with me to this day. Let's just say she didn't have a job the next day. TLDR. Apparently, food can't be super awesome every time, as it gets the customers' hopes up too high for the next time they go in and eat there. I was driving a rental car from Enterprise in LA on a work trip. I'm going about 35 and a girl pulls out 10 feet in front of me without looking. I barely had time to touch the brake pedal before I hit her square in the driver's side wheel. No injuries to anyone, but totally her fault. She got a ticket for it. I made a total of 18 phone calls over the course of a couple hours to Enterprise's local office and their national roadside assistance line. They're constantly transferring me, but actually hanging up, and the local branch insists they can't do anything, and it's roadside assistance's responsibility to help me, and roadside assistance says the same thing about the branch office. They refuse to drop off another car, pick me up, or send a cab. They won't do anything. They leave me stranded in a tow yard in a sketchy part of East LA.
Luckily, the tow truck driver was a nice guy and drove me to my hotel. For the next few months, Enterprise calls and emails me a few times a week trying to get a $1,000 deductible that is the responsibility of the other person's insurance since she was at fault. Every time they contact me, I tell them to collect from her insurance. It's their responsibility. I never pay the deductible. Acting on instructions from my company's travel managers, Enterprise stopped bugging me after about 3 months. At about the 5-month mark, Enterprise asks me for a refund on a reimbursement check that they said they sent to me to repay the deductible I never actually paid. At that point, I turned the whole thing over to my company's finance, travel, and legal departments, and I never heard anything more from Enterprise.